Have you ever been there? As a leader, you've done the offsites, you've read all the books, you have this absolutely brilliant plan. But then you look around a few weeks later and nothing. Nothing has actually changed. It is one of the most common frustrations in business, right? That gap between knowing what you should do and actually getting it done. So today, let's dive into this. We're going to break down exactly why this happens, and more importantly, lay out a really practical 90-day path to turn your team's best ideas into results you can actually measure. This quote from Donald Fleming, it just gets right to the heart of the matter, doesn't it? You could have the clearest vision on the planet, the most detailed strategy, but without a regular, predictable rhythm, a cadence for taking action, it's all just wishful thinking. It's the system, not just the sparkle of the idea, that really creates change. And this brings us to a core concept that researchers have been digging into for decades. It actually has a name. It's called the knowing-doing gap. So let's define what that really is and unpack why our best-laid plans so often just fizzle out. So a couple of researchers, Jeffrey Pfeiffer and Robert Sutton, they're the ones who coined this term. And the knowing-doing gap, well, it's that frustrating space between the beautiful strategy on a PowerPoint slide and the actual actions your team takes on a Tuesday morning. It's this pattern of just talking and not enough small real-world experiments. It's when we mistake a really slick presentation for actual progress. Okay, so let's break down why this happens. First, talk replaces trial. Come on, we've all been in those meetings, right? Debating the perfect model for hours. It feels super productive, but all it really does is delay us from just trying something. Second, we reward what you could call internal theatrics. That elegant presentation gets all the applause, while a simple, repeatable behavior that actually moves the needle gets ignored. And finally, and this is a big one, fear of mistakes. In a lot of company cultures, trying something and failing, even a little bit, is politically risky, so it just feels safer to keep talking. So, if the problem is a lack of a system, what does a good one even look like? Well, the answer isn't another memo or a bigger, longer meeting. No way. It's a system that's grounded in the science of how we as humans actually change our behavior. So let's take a look at what the science has to say. The research really points to three crucial keys. First one is all about repetition. You see, habits aren't built on one single heroic effort. They're built on frequency. One study found it takes, on average, about 66 days for a new behavior to become automatic. Second is about planning. Using if-then plans, what researchers call implementation intentions, dramatically increases the odds you'll actually follow through. And third is about protection. Our calendars are so noisy, right? Protecting actual focus time isn't just a nice to have, it's absolutely essential for execution. And here's a perfect example of what one of those if-then plans looks like in the real world. See, it's not a vague goal like, I'm going to work on the pipeline this week. No, it's a specific preloaded decision. You connect a cue, the if, which is 8:30 on Monday, with a very specific action, the then, I open the pipeline review. What this does is it removes the need for willpower in that moment. It just makes the right action the default. It's powerful stuff. And here is why that third point, protecting your focus time, is so critical. Check this out. Research from Microsoft shows that the heaviest meeting users spend a full workday, that's 7.5 hours, in meetings every single week. That is a huge amount of time that isn't being used for deep, focused work. It's a massive bottleneck to execution that's just hiding in plain sight on our calendars. Okay, so we've got the problem, the knowing-doing gap, and we have the scientific principles for a solution. So now let's put it all together into a practical, step-by-step, 90-day plan. This is a field-tested cadence that turns all those principles into a simple weekly rhythm. It all starts with extreme focus. Step 1, set one measurable outcome for the next 90 days. Not 5, not 10, just one. Step 2, translate that outcome into very specific weekly if-then behaviors for each person who's responsible. And step 3, you gotta be ruthless about protecting the time needed to actually do those behaviors. That means auditing your recurring meetings and cutting anything that doesn't have a clear return on investment. But look, a plan is useless without momentum. That is where the weekly rhythm comes in. Step 4 is a fast, super disciplined 15-minute weekly check-in. Same time, same day, every single week. You cover progress, you cover obstacles, and you make adjustments. It's all about small, weekly course corrections. And finally, step 5, you close the loop. You make sure your company culture, your feedback, your recognition, all of it is actually rewarding the behaviors you want to see, not just the final outcome. Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, right? But does it actually work? Let's look at a quick real world story to see how this cadence can translate into some pretty amazing results. So here was the situation. A regional services firm was just stuck. Their revenue was flat, the sales cycle was dragging on forever, and everybody felt like they had zero time because their calendars were just packed. So they set one crystal clear 90-day outcome: increase net new revenue by 12%, zero ambiguity. And now, look at what happened over the next 12 weeks. They put the cadence into practice. They set weekly if-then behaviors for their sales outreach, and they pruned all those low-value meetings. And the results? Well, they speak for themselves. They blew past their goals, hitting a 14.3% increase in net new revenue. And here's the key takeaway. The CEO didn't change the strategy. She changed the cadence. The coach on this project, Pascal Dubois, he summed it up perfectly. This isn't about asking your team to just try harder or find more willpower. No, it's about designing a system that makes the right actions the easiest actions. It's about getting rid of the maybe I'll do this and replacing it with a simple, powerful if this, then that. All right, so how can you start building this bridge from knowing to doing? We're going to wrap up with a super practical checklist. The point here isn't to give you more to know, it's to give you a clear way to act. This is your toolkit for the next 2 weeks. We're here to activate you, not just educate you. It really comes down to 4 simple actions you can take starting now. First, focus. Get your team together and agree on one single outcome for the quarter. Second, translate. Define that one weekly if-then behavior for each key person. Third, protect. Just pick 3 recurring meetings and audit them. Be ruthless. And fourth, start. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Just put a 15-minute check-in on the calendar for next week and begin the rhythm. And we'll end with another powerful thought from Donald Fleming because it is such a critical reminder. Your success as a leader, it isn't determined by how elegant your strategy document is. It's determined by the small, repeatable actions that are built into the very structure of your team's week. So the real question is, what cadence are you setting?